All right, so open the Gemara. We're in the middle of a long. Put this over there, please.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a long sugya, and I want to tell you, every sugya has its own. I guess I would call it rhythm. And I want to explain to you how the rhythm of this sugya works, so that you can follow. As I said, it's a very long sugya. And it started with the peticha. We discussed that last time. It starts in Daf Gimel Amud Aleph on the bottom of the page. And the way it works is there's several parts. And so far, most of the parts have 5 subdivisions, so to speak. And we'll see at the end the full structure of the sugya, how it works. But it's interesting the number 5 repeats itself over and over again. But the sugya starts with the peticha. The peticha was Rav Shemuel bar Yitzhak, in the name of Rav. He makes a statement about the Mishnah, and he explains that the Mishnah, where it says Betula nitzet liyom revi'i, that law is only operative in a situation where the Batei Dinim are yoshavim b'sheni u'b'chamishi, like mitakanat eza ve'elach. You remember that, right? Yeah? Okay. So the way this peticha ends, it ends with the question, Mai shakiru. And then it says, Detanya. So the ending of the peticha is the segue for the next part. You understand? So how did the first part end? How did the peticha end? Mai shakiru, Detanya. And then now we have the second part, or I like to call it part 1. We have the peticha, and then we have part 1. So part 1 is the Detanya, Mai shakiru, and part 1 has 5 parts. We discussed that last week. So you remember what part 1 was? It was the Tosefta, and the Tosefta explaining the law of shakiru, right? Give me the green thing, all right? So, okay? So this beraita has 5 parts, okay? Now, let's call this part 1. How does this part 1 end? So the answer is, it's going to end with a question leading up to the next part. So the peticha started with ended with Mai shakiru, and this part, the is going to end with Mai sakana, right? Because so in the Tosefta, we brought the law of shakiru, and we brought the law of sakana. So how does this first part end? Mai sakana. You understand? So the peticha ended with Mai shakiru. The first part ends with Mai sakana, right? You understand how the rhythm of the sugya works? Mai sakana, and then it brings, and then we have part 2. Part 2 has 5 parts also. Again, we read that last week, right? Mm-hmm. Part 2 has 5 parts. Mai sakana, ilem adam lebetula niset. They want to explain what sakana is, okay? How does part 2 end? Exactly the same way. Mai ones. You see, so we have Mai shakiru, Mai sakana, Mai ones. Now this Chelek Gimel, I call it Chelek Gimel. Again, I have the peticha, we have Chelek Aleph is Mai shakiru, we have Chelek Bet is Mai sakana, and we have Chelek Gimel is Mai ones. And how many parts does Mai ones have? Mai ones, 5 parts. And we studied that last week. What's honest? Actually, no. Did we? No. Did we study the question of honest last week?
I won't say so.
Yeah, we did. We studied the part of honest.
I think we did like 3 weeks ago. I don't know.
No, we didn't do last week my honest. Okay, so let's see my honest. Okay, so you see the thing, and then this part is also going to end with my mehamata honest. Okay, and then you're going to have the next part. You see, so you have a series of parts where the Peticha brings something, mentions shakedu. We say my shakedu, that brings us to part A, and then part A says something about sakana. We say my sakana, and then there's going to be my ones, and then there's going to be my hamata ones, right? You see how the sugya works? Yeah, so it's a very nice sugya, and again, that's just the rhythm of the sugya. And I noticed that there's 5 parts or 5 subparts that seem to be in every one of the parts, at least here. And then we're gonna have another section to the sugya. But okay, let's do my ones. So my ones is on Daf Gimel Amud Bet, 1/3 of the way from the bottom of the page. You have my ones. You need me to help you find it. My honest. Okay, so this is Chelek Gimel. Again, we have the Peticha, we have Chelek Aleph, my Shakedu, Chelek Bet, my Sakana, Chelek Gimel, my honest. So the Tosefta that we brought in Chelek Aleph, it mentions honest. And do you remember what the law was with honest? Do you remember that law? In the case of Sakana, we said, what's the law of Sakana? You can get married on...
Am I right?
Yes, exactly. Correct. Right. Sakana, the Hagmon Bala'ir, okay? He used to come on Wednesday, so they decided to get married on Tuesday. But the Baraita also mentioned, we let you get married on
Monday, no?
Monday, exactly. So now we have to say, what honest are you talking about? My honest. You understand? All right. Very good. So my honest. How about read my honest?
My honest. Ilema hade amran.
Ilema hade amran. Perhaps we shall say that the honest is referring to what we previously discussed, namely something to do with the Hagmon, right? That the Hagmon was coming, and because of that, they decided to do it on Monday, or they allowed you to do the wedding on Monday. You understand? So, ilema hade amran, right?
Hatam kere
le sakana.
sakana.
ואחר כך קרא לאונס. Again, hatam
kere le sakana, והאחה קרא לאונס.
קרא לאונס. Okay, let's read it again. Let's together, okay? ואם מחמת האונס מותר. Quote from the Tosefta, right? So now we start. My honest, ilema hade amran, hatam kare le sakana, ve'acha kakare le honest. So there's 2 problems with supposing that honest is referring to Hagmon. First of all, we already refer to Hagmon as sakana. So why would you refer to the Hagmon Bala'ir as honest? The an additional problem with that interpretation is Hatam Nahagu. Hacha Mutar lechatechila. There's a missing word in the. Do you have the chatechila? You have the kitayad or no? Vetu Hatam Nahagu. Hacha Mutar lechatechila. You have that? No? Okay. Vetu Hatam Nahagu means, in addition, in the case of the Hagmon Bala'ir, we said Nahagu Ha'am, meaning the Hachamim did not agree to be mevatlim the Takana of Wednesday. That Betulani said to Yom Revi, they didn't agree. Nahagu Ha'am, the people on their own did it. And the Hachamim assented to what the people did, right? But lechatechila, you should do the wedding on Wednesday. Okay. But here, with respect to sakana, if you look at the Tosefta, it says, ve'im mehammat. I'm sorry. In the case of ones, it says in the Tosefta, it says ve'im mehammat ones mutar. What does mutar mean? It means lechatechila. So, which is it? If it's Hagmon, is it Hagmon mutar because the people did it and the hachamim lo mihu bi'adam, or is it mamash mutar lechatchila? So therefore, ones has to be something different. It can't be tagmon. Okay? Clear?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Repeat the question. Repeat again. We're trying to understand when the Baraita said that if there's ones, you can do the wedding on Monday. We're trying to understand what ones are they talking about. So what's the first possibility that the Gemara suggests to interpret the word, to give substance to the word ones?
Something similar to the Admon.
Hagmon. Yes, exactly. And why can't that be? There were two difficulties.
Because the Hagmon wasn't exactly allowed. It wasn't mutar, it was just lo mihu bi'adam.
The situation of a Hagmon didn't compel the Hachamim to annul takana. They just lo mihu bi'adam Hachamim. But here, what does it say with respect to ones?
Mutar
lechatchila. So first of all, the first question was, we skipped the first question, was why does it call it sakana at the beginning of the Tosefta and then it calls it ones? You just decide, is it sakana or is it ones? Right? But second of all, why does it say in the case of sakana it says lo mihu bi'adam hachamim? In the case of ones it says mutar lechatchila. So we have to understand what the Baraita, what the Tosefta meant when it said Be'im mehammat ha'ones mutar. Which ones? So now we're going to have the explanation of Rabbah.
Should I read?
Yes.
Amar Rabbah de'amre sav sava ba'ala'ir.
Very good. De'amre sar sava ba'ala'ir. What does that mean?
The general.
Yes. So this is important to know. In whenever an army comes to a city, it wreaks havoc, right? It wreaks havoc. It's the nature. There's no other way. The people who live there are going to resent the soldiers. The soldiers who live there are going to view the people who live there as some sort of threat. And if the soldiers come from a despotic regime, as in the case of the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, of course they're going to wreak havoc. So Amar Rabbah de'amne. So what's the ones? They want to get married on Wednesday. But what's the problem? The general is going to be arriving with his army, not going to be able to have a wedding when these people, these lowlives, are marauding in the city. You can't have the wedding. That's you understand the ones? That's what Abba is saying. The amre sarsava bala'im.
If you know that he's coming on Wednesday, then you can do it on Tuesday, not Monday. Huh? Like,
next question. Exactly. So read. Hechi dame. You have it. Hedalit.
Hechi dame.
Hechi dame. So let's. What is when Rabbah says sar sava bala'ir? What specifically is the situation? Hechi dame means what is the specific situation? Hechi means ech de dome, something more or less, right? So let's think about it, because you just asked a very intelligent question. Mm-hmm. If the Sasava is coming on Wednesday, so do the wedding on Tuesday. Why do it on Monday? Mm-hmm. But the Baraita said do the wedding on Monday. So let's understand. Hechi dameh. Okay.
Ideate v'halif
Ideate v'halif. Read it.
Ideate v'halif le'ikav la serif. Le'ikav.
Okay. So again, I'm going to read it with me. Hechi dameh. So one possibility is that the army is just entering the city on the way home, or on the way to war, perhaps. But they're not entering the city because they want anything from the city. So if the army is coming in, ateh means ba'im, vehalif, and then cholfim, meaning they're gonna leave. So delay the wedding. What's the issue? Delay it. What do you have to do it earlier? I mean, you know the army is coming in. It's Wednesday. You want to do the wedding on Wednesday. You can't do the wedding on Wednesday. So wait till next week. What's the big deal? Right? La sericha. No, la sericha.
La sericha de'ate v'kava.
De'ate v'kava b'shelishi. No. I'm sorry. Mechila. I misread it. De'ate v'kava. Read it.
De'ate v'kava.
No. So I need. No. Rava was, when Rava said what he said, he was referring to something else, not the situation of ateve halif, because really, if it's ateve halif, there's no ones.
If they're just passing by.
It doesn't specify. There's no honest. They want to go home. They want to be with their wives and children. So no, that's not it. La sericha. No. We need the statement of Rava because he's teaching us the situation of ateve kava. In the case of ateve kava, that he's coming to town, and you don't know how long he's going to be in town, so you can't say le'akav or le'akav for how long, right? So you understand le'akav. Ateve kava, he might be there for a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, who knows? Okay, so that's the situation. So the ateve kava, understood?
Yeah.
So again, what's the honest that the Tosefta was talking about? The Shitat Rava, which is what we're studying now.
That they're staying there, yes.
Give me a full sentence. I'm asking you a question. I don't know what the Tosefta means.
Yeah.
When you say staying there, it doesn't help me. I want to know what. Give me the situation. What honest was the Tosefta talking about up till now?
The Sarasava and the soldier, they're going to stay there.
That they're coming to the city, and their intention is to stay in the city.
Yeah. And
they're going to be there on Wednesday, and I don't know how long they're going to stay. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, there they go. So then they ask a question. The Gemara asks a question. In that case, Bashelishi, Miha Lichnos. So you're telling me Sarasava La'il on Wednesday, and you're telling me that the Sarasava is going to stay in the city, and therefore I can't postpone it. Okay. So if the Sarasava is coming on Wednesday, do it on Tuesday. Make the wedding on Tuesday. Why not make the wedding on Tuesday?
Yeah.
What's the issue?
Yeah.
You said no. We could like to do it on Monday, but the Sarasava is on Wednesday. So do it on Tuesday. Understand the question? So again, Bashelishi, read it again. Miha lichnos on Tuesday. Nevertheless, make the bikones ota. Lichnos means bikones the woman. Machnisa lachupa on Tuesday. Read that question again. Bashelishi.
Miha lichnos.
Yes, you understand. So answer.
Asparva dideh b'shelishi ka'atu.
Ka'atu, yes. Asparva dideh b'shelishi ka'atu. Read that again.
Asparva dideh b'shelishi ka'atu.
Okay, because if the Sarasava is coming on Wednesday, before the Sarasava would come, they would have the supply lines reaching the city. The Asparva, actually, let me tell you, actually it's not really the supply lines. The supply lines is bringing food to the soldiers in the battlefield. The Asparva, he knew that the army is going to be getting there on Wednesday, so Asparva would go to the city and they would confiscate the food for the soldiers who are arriving the next day. So they would always arrive a day earlier to prepare the food for the next day. So if the Sarasava is coming on Wednesday, when is the Asparva coming? On Tuesday. You understand? Asparva dideh b'shelishi ka'atu. And therefore, since Asparva dideh b'shelishi ka'atu, when can you do the wedding? You're not going to do it on Tuesday. If you do it on Tuesday, Asparva will take the whole wedding. Beautiful banquet. Thank you so much. Mr. General is going to be very happy with this food. This is beautiful. Wow. Wow, what a beautiful wedding you had here. Too bad. You understand? All right. So now we understand. So I'm going to review this part, and then we're going to go to the Ibai demo. Okay. So let's go to the beginning. My honest. Again, this is part 3. This is part 3 of the sugya. Again, we had my shakedu, my sakana, and then we have my honest. So let's read it again. Ilema. Could it be that it's referring to the same situation of the Hagmon? Atem katam ka. You skipped the ka. Ka. You don't have that. Honest. Okay, very good. So it's not. That's not it. So it's not referring to the Hagmon. Vetu. Right, there's a missing word. Okay, so therefore, we reject that first attempted explanation. So comes Rava and he gives us a different explanation. Amar Rava.
אמר רבא דאמרי סרסבה בלעיר.
Sarsava bala'ir. So that's the answer of Rava. Sarsava bala'ir. Okay.
הכי דמה.
Hechi dameh.
הכי דמה. אי דאתך וחלף.
V'halif, yes.
לעיקר.
Likar. So let's be specific. If he's coming on Wednesday, but he's going to leave eventually, who cares? So I've learned this. La sericha.
לא, צריך תאתה וקבע.
De'ateh v'kava b'shelishi. De'ateh v'kava. You were right, I was wrong. De'ateh v'kava. What does de'ateh v'kava mean?
I'm planning on staying there maybe.
Exactly. He's planning on staying here.
Yeah.
Okay.
בשלישי מהליכנוס.
B'shelishi mihalichnos.
אספרבה
Dide. B'shelishi ka'atu. And I said that this part has 5 parts. So the first answer was that my honest was the hagmon, but we rejected that. Then Rava says my honest sarsava bala'ir, but we say hechidameh. Under what situation? We said the ateh vekava. Okay, so that's part 3. The ateh vekava. But then we said if ateh vekava, then do it the day before he arrives. Answer asparva. So you see that's 4 parts so far. So the 4 parts bring us to that it's talking about sarsava bala'ir on Wednesday, and the asparva is arriving on Tuesday, and therefore the only way to do the wedding is on Monday. Sarsava bala'ir ve'ateh v'kava. Also, he's going to be called ve'ah. I forgot that. And he's arriving on Wednesday, and the asparva is arriving on Tuesday, and then we have to do the wedding on Monday. How many parts so far? 4. But now we have the 5th part. Ve'ibayit ema.
מה מחמת האונס כדבר.
My Mechamat Onis Kitanya. Okay, so you see how the segue, the last question in part C or part 3 leads us to part D, where again we're going to have 5 parts in part D. Understand? So every part is like ends with a my Mechamat, my Sakana, my Shakedu, my Sakana, my Onis. Right now this one was. How did this one end? Ve'ibayit ema. My Mechamat Ones. We're going to give another explanation of the Mechamat Ones. Now we're going to bring another Baraita. And again, 5 parts. And, okay, we'll see. But in the meantime, it's clear?
Yeah.
So now we're going to, why do we need, what's wrong with Rava's explanation of Mechamat Ones? Nothing.
I guess, yeah.
We're going to see, we're going to bring an explanation now, which has to do with the laws of Avlut. And we're going to see that we have an explanation now, my Mechamat Ones has to do with Shakedu. Namely, that to prepare a good Saudah. We're going to see. We're going to do that now. But what's important to know is that what we're about to do now, only works in Bavel. Because in Bavel, they say, why did we do the wedding on Wednesday? Because Shakedu. Why not on Sunday, for example? Right? If the Bet Din sits on Monday, we can do the wedding on Sunday.
Yeah.
So the answer is Shakedu, right? But we said that in Eretz Yisrael, they would say because of Beracha. Why do we do the wedding on Wednesday? Because of Beracha. Beracha l'dagim, put it right? Vayvarech lechem Elohim, right? Peru urvu, okay. So, Beracha l'dagim. So, the point is that the answer that Rava gave, it's fine. In Eretz Yisrael, they can accept that answer. What we're about to do now, my Mechamat Ones Kitanya, is an alternative answer which would not be accepted in Eretz Yisrael. Because Eretz Yisrael doesn't recognize the whole idea of Shakedu Chachamim. Right, so this whole next section, it's something that is very characteristic of the Bavlis. It was very consistent with the Bavlis theory of Shakedu. In the sense, I just want to make you aware of the, like sometimes things seem to be a little haphazard. They're not. Right? So the methodology here is you start with the answer of Rava, which is an answer that can be accepted in Eretz Yisrael, could also be accepted in Bavel. But then you go to an answer, Kidtanya, Haresha Hayta Pito Afuya, and that answer cannot be accepted in Eretz Yisrael because they don't have the whole theory of Shakedu. So we're going to see in that. Okay, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Let's read now. So this is part 4. Again, how does part 4 start? The last question in part 5. Okay, and now we're going to see. So now we're reading another baraita. So this is the second baraita that we are reading. The first baraita was a tosefta, the first in Masachet Ketuvot that we already know about, Shakidu. Now we have a very interesting baraita. I don't know where this baraita is from. I don't know where it's from. I'm saying it could be in Masachet Semachot in any Yodea, but I couldn't find it. If anybody watching this video finds out where this baraita is from, you're welcome to shoot me a note on the WhatsApp group. But I cannot find this baraita anywhere. Okay? But nevertheless, Kid Tanya. So Chavoy. So really, it's correct. The correct thing is Shehayeta Pito Afuya, because that's on Nekeva. So Hare Shehayeta Pito Afuya.
הרי שהייתה פתאום אפויה ותבחו
Wut Vachot Tabuach.
ובחור טבוע.
ואינו מזוג.
באמת אביו של חתן.
הוא מת אביו של חתן, או אמה של כלה.
או אמה של כלה. מכניסים את המת.
לחייהם, yes.
ואת החתן ואת הכלה לחופה.
ואת החתן ואת הכלה לחופה.
החתן ואת הכלה לחופה.
Okay, this is the first part of the baraita. Let's read it together. Let's read it. כדתן, מה מחמת האונס? כדתניה, read it with me, please.
מה מחמת האונס? כדתניה.
הרי שהייתה פתאום אפויה וטבחו טבוע ואינו מזוג ומת אביו של חתן או אמה של כלה. מכניסים את המת לחדר ואת החתן ואת הכלה לחופה ובועל בעילת מצווה ופורש. Continue.
ונוהג 7 ימי המשתה ואחר כך נוהג 7 ימי אבלות. וכל אותן הימים הוא ישן בין האנשים.
It's really הוא יושן. It's right.
הוא יושן בין האנשים והיא ישנה בין הנשים. ואין מונעים תכשיטין מהכלה כל 30 יום.
That's end of the baraita. That's end of the baraita. Then there's a sentence, ודווקא אביו של חתן או אמה של כלה, דלקה איניש לטלח להו. read that sentence.
ודווקא אביו של חתן או אמה של כלה,
של כלה, no מפיקניה.
של כלה, דליקה איניש לטלחה להו.
לטלח להו. Okay, so first, before we study what the dafka means, we're going to study the baraita. So this baraita, let me read it for you. So the situation was as follows. It first describes the situation. The bread was baked. Okay, the bread was baked. The meat, the animal, was slaughtered. Literally, right? They slaughtered it already. Back then, it's not like you went to the butcher and you would buy meat. You went to the butcher and you bought an animal. And they do shahita on the animal. And then they do bedika on the re'ot. And you hope that it's not taref, otherwise you lose the money. I don't know. Right? But okay. So you slaughter the animal. They're getting ready for the wedding. After they have a baker to bake the bread. They have a shochet to be shochet the animal. And then you would bring the wine, when you would preserve the wine in the barrels, it was done in a concentrated form. Then, later on, when you were ready to drink it, you would dilute that concentrate with water. And that diluted version of the wine would not stay forever. You know, like today, if you open a bottle of wine, you know, once you open it, it's going to stay for 2-3 weeks, not even. It becomes ruined. But the diluted form, while it was in the, the concentrated form, while it was still in the barrel, sealed, would stay for a long time. But here, you already baked the bread. What happens to bread after it's baked? It's nice for a day or 2, maybe 3, I don't know. Tevachot is no refrigeration. Tevachot tavuah, yeah, the meat. What are you going to do with the whole animal? It's going to spoil. Yeno mazug, it's going to spoil. Umet aviv shel hatan or immaha shel kalla. And then the father of the hatan died or the mother of the kalla died. Now you notice it says aviv shel hatan or immaha shel kalla. So it's either or. It doesn't have to be both. But in the case of Bito Afui Utvachot Tavuach Beyano Mazug, the Vav here means and. It doesn't mean or. So the Baraita is dealing with the case where the whole meal is prepared. The bread was baked, the animal was slaughtered, the wine was diluted or whatever, mixed, whatever you want to say, with water, right? So the meal was prepared. Umet aviv shel hatan imma shel kalla. So what's the first law? Let's count how many laws there are. Law number 1. Let's continue. Law number 2. Right. So law number 3, I think, right? Yeah. One was no, that. No, Foresh is right. Again, let's read the 5 laws again. Okay, I'm gonna read it again just so we have the correct breakdown of the Baraita. I want to make sure we're reading it correctly. Again, first you have a description of the situation. This isn't the law, this is a description. Or immaha has a mapik shel kalla has a mapik.
מכניסים את המת לחדר ואת החתן ואת הכלה לחופה. ובועל בעילת מצווה ופורש. Okay, that's the first thing. So the first thing we learn is we suspend the aninut. Technically speaking, when the person dies, מי שמתו מוטל לפניו, you have to be עוסק במצוות קבורת המת. It overrides the other mitzvot. You don't do Hilul Shabbat for that, but let's say even Yom Tov Sheni Shel Galuyot is like Chol. But Minan Shel Onida, but if somebody passes away Yom Tov Sheni Shel Galuyot, they do whatever they need to do. Yom Tov Rishon Shel Galuyot, you can do Amira Lagoy. Yes. But the point is that let's say regular Yom Chol, certainly it's not Shabbat. Yom Chol, so you have to be osek b'kevurah. The problem here is what? The problem here is they already prepared the meal. They prepared the entire. What are you going to do with the seudah? You understand? So מכניסים את המת לחדר, ותחתם את הכלה לחופה, ובועל בעילת מסע ופרש. That's step number 1. Okay? You suspend the aninut, and you do the chuppah. Okay? Very good. Now that you were boiled bila b'sar and you parashta, now you noheg Shavat Yemei HaMishteh. Right? Because Moshe Rabbeinu tiken Shavat Yemei HaMishteh. The tekana to have 7 days of happiness or celebration with your wife, with your new wife, is tekana Moshe Rabbeinu. So noheg Shavat Yemei HaMishteh. Right? Then, after that, you're noheg Shavat Yemei Avilut. Okay? Now, during the Shavat Yemei HaMishteh, v'chol otam hayamim, hu yoshen ben ha'anashim, vehi yeshena ben ha'nashim. Right? And finally, en monin tashitim kala kol shel shimon. So that's 5 laws. Again, I'm going to repeat the 5 laws. The first law is we suspend the aninut and we make the chuppah. That's law number 1. Law number 2 is noheg Shavat Yemei HaMishteh. After the chuppah. Law number 3 is noheg Shavat Yemei Avilut, after the Shavat Yemei HaMishteh. Law number 4 is, and during the 7 days of the Mishteh, Hu Yashem ben ha'anashim v'yeshem ben ha'anashim. And law number 5, the en mon'in tachshitim min ha'kala kol shloshim. That's a baraita. So you see how the baraita has 5 laws, let's say 5 halachot. It brings the situation, and then it brings the 5 laws related to the situation. Clear? Very simple. So you see again the number 5. I'm sorry?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may, of course. Yeah, after, right, so, ubo'el be'ilat misra uforesh, and that's when he buries the met, correct. Meaning, they have to bury the met, right? Now, here, let me explain the law, okay. Let me explain the law. Let me explain the theory of the law. All right. So the situation is clear. The situation is we want the wedding to take place, but the guy died. He has a chovah to bury the person. Let's say the son has a chovah to bury his father, the daughter, the kala, if it's a kala whose mother died, she has an obligation. Now, the problem is as follows. Let me explain. So just bury. So say bury. Bury, whatever, it takes 2 hours, 3 hours to bury, and then do the mishteh. Why don't you do that? You understand my question? Meaning, why you fill it up with water, please, yes. You understand the question, Shemuel? Why are we saying, first do the chuppah, and then bury the met? No. First bury the met, and then do the chuppah. What's the big deal? You gotta delay the chuppah by 3 hours, by 4 hours. How long does it take to do the funeral? You understand, Shlomo?
Yeah.
Good question, no?
Yeah.
I have to explain this. It's important that we understand these laws properly. The problem is as follows. The moment... Go ahead.
Because he's on end, right?
Okay, no, I understand. He is on end, but this that he's on end. That's unavoidable. The guy died, he's on end. End of story. Nothing we can do about that. Okay? The question is as follows. Given the fact that he's onen, and that he has an obligation to bury his father, or she has an obligation to bury her mother. Given the fact that he's onen or she's onen, bury the manoah. Why do you do the wedding first? You understand the question, Ike? Why are you doing the wedding first? In other words, we have this situation where the Chatan and Kala want to get married. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay, they want to get married. Lovely. They prepared the food. Everything is ready. So the father, the mother of the Kala, the father of the Chatan looks at the bill for the caterer. He gets a heart attack, he dies. Okay, tragedy. Could have waited till after the wedding to look at the bill. But he didn't. So he died, got a heart attack. So now, so what happened? What happened is, they're on end. They're on end. So why not bury the body and then do the wedding? Why do we say no? Do the wedding. Bo'el b'ilat mitzvah, uforesh, and then you bury the body. Why? You understand the question? Why do you order it this way? Everybody understand the question? If you don't understand the question, raise your hand.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
My question was also how to deduce from the text.
You can't. You have to study. Yeah, this is why you need. There's some things in life where you need somebody to teach you that the shape of the letter Aleph, that shape is the letter Aleph, and this shape is the letter Bet, and the word Abba means father. Okay, you can't deduce it from the text. It's a beraita, Tana darko lekaser. Sometimes the Tanaim are mekasrim. Okay, so beraita here, Tana darko lekaser. All right. So now, okay, but that's a question. So I want to explain to you. So the law of aninut ends from the moment of the kevura. The moment that you finish burying the manoah or the manoha, the aninut ends. You fulfill the mitzvah. So of course aninut ends. Let me put this a little further. Actually, I realize it's not a good. Okay. From that moment, the avelut starts. There was a Mishneh Torah. Get me the Mishneh Torah, the one on top. Right? The avelut starts from the moment you bury the dead. Okay? And we do Lashon HaRambam. I'm looking at Hilchot Evel, Perek Aleph, Halacha Bet. מאמתי יתחייב אדם באבל? מי שיסתם הגולל. From what moment is the person hayav to start avelut? When does the avelut start? The answer is from the moment the aninut finished, which is when? Mishi Satem Agolal. So they used to, let's say, bury the body in a cave. Like they had like a cave for the family, and inside the walls of the cave there were like these niches, and then they would put the body inside like the niche, and then they would seal it with the stone. That stone is called the golal, right? So the golal, a person touches the golal is metameh, tumat shiv'ah. Interesting, right? If a person touches the golal shel met, that's one of the tumot metameh. If a person touches the golal, so now, but the point is, that's the moment the avelut starts. Now avelut is the oraita, the first day at least. The first day avelut is the oraita. If it's yom mita v'yom kibura, avelut is the oraita. Now what's the problem? The problem is as follows. If you bury the dead, satamta et hagolal, at that moment the avelut starts. You can't do a wedding. How can you do a wedding? You're aved. It's avelut de oraita. I want to postpone the avelut. You can't. So therefore, what's the only solution? The only solution is to already do the wedding. Because the moment you do the wedding, you started the Shivat Yemei Mishteh. Now if you already started the Shivat Yemei Mishteh, and then you buried the dead, what is this like? It's like you have the 7 days of Pesach. If somebody dies on the 7 days of Pesach, you have to bury the person, of course. Not on Yom Tov, okay. Let's say Chol HaMoed we bury. Okay, Yom Tov, al yedei goy. Chol HaMoed, al yedei asmo. So we wait till Chol HaMoed. So you have to bury the dead. Now what happens if you bury somebody on Pesach? The Avelut doesn't start. Because you have the Yemei Simcha of Pesach, it pushes away the Avelut. You understand? And therefore, when does the Avelut start? After Pesach. You see, you understand the law again? Let me explain the law. Let me say it again. If a person dies on Chol HaMoed Sukkot, a person dies on Chol HaMoed Pesach, you have to bury the dead, of course. It's asur lehalin tameh. You're not allowed to let the body just stay. Once you bury the dead, normally the Avelut starts. Here the Avelut doesn't start. Because it's Chol HaMoed, and it's Yemei Simcha. And Avelut cannot push away the Simcha. You already started the Simcha. And therefore this Avelut is going to start after. That's after the Shivat, after the Chol HaMoed, and after Pesach finishes, or Sukkot finishes, then the Avelut will start. So similarly here, same law. The guy says as follows, I'm going to marry you now. Now we have the Misha Meto Mutar Lefanav. Quickly, let's get married, right? And we're going to get married so that the Shivat Yemei Mishteh started, and then we're immediately going to bury the dead. But since the Shivat Yemei Mishteh started, the Avelut is not going to push away the Shivat Yemei Mishteh. We're already in the middle of Shivat Yemei Mishteh. That's like a person in the middle of a holiday. And therefore, we're going to have to finish the Shivat Yemei Mishteh, and then we start the Avelut afterwards. You understand the theory? The very perfect, yes? Or you want to repeat it? You see it? I'm going to test you a little bit, and it's okay if you don't answer. I'm going to do Shalomo or Aiki. If somebody, a regular situation, a person dies, what's the mitzvah?
Very quickly.
Immediately, as quickly as possible. And what is the name of what do we call a person who has the mitzvah to bury a karov? Onen. Okay. Onen doesn't have laws of Avelut, but he's patur from the mitzvot aseh. And also, asur be'basar, be'asur be'yain. Right? Shulchan Aruch, he brings a Humrah that also asur litrachais. Okay, I'm just saying what Shulchan Aruch says. Haramam doesn't bring that, but Shulchan Aruch says it. So you know, we need to know. Okay. So basar and yain. Very nice. What happens? So he has to bury the dead. When does the Avelut start?
After he's buried.
The minute Mishisatem Golan, immediately the Avelut starts. Yes, Aiki? Yeah. And now the first day of Avelut, if it's also Yom HaKevurah, is the Oraita. So the first day of Avelut if the person was buried on the day he died, it's Avelut Deoraita.
Okay.
Right? Not if a person, let's say, for example, died on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, they didn't bury him till the next 2 days later. So they start the Avelut after they bury him. That Avelut is the Rabbanan, Midivre Sofrim, it's not the Oraita. But let's say when Jeda, Allah Shalom, Aleni Kaparat Mishkavo, when he passed away at night. They buried him the next day, and that day, right after they buried him, it was Avelut Deoraita. Right? So that's an example of Avelut Deoraita. But let's say the person would have passed away, let's say Yom Tov, and then we don't bury him until Chol HaMoed. It's Avelut Deoraita. Understand? Now, Avelut Deoraita starts with how many days is Avelut, whether it's Deoraita or Rabbanan. The first day is Deoraita, but it's 7 days. Let's say a person dies on Chol HaMoed. The person was buried, Misha Matom buried him on Chol HaMoed. When does Avelut start?
After burial.
No. No, it doesn't start. He buries him on Chol HaMoed. After the holiday. Actually, it's going to be after Yom Tov. Right? And why? What's the legal theory? That the Simcha of the Moed is there. The Avelut can't push away the Simcha. The Simcha is there. It's Kavua.
It's national, huh?
What?
It's national.
Also, it's right. I said it last time, but it doesn't have, we don't need to go there. Right. The Gemara says, Ateh Simcha de Rabim Vedahe Avelut de Yachid. That the Simcha de Rabim is Kavua, and it keeps away the Avelut, which is a private Avelut. But even here we see that's exactly the Hadush of the Baraita. The Hadush of the Baraita is even the Shiv'at Yemei Mishteh of Yachid pushes away the Shiv'at Yemei Avelut of Yachid. Understand the point? That's the Hadush of this Baraita. All right. So now we understand the Baraita.
Yeah.
So now, okay. So put the seal like this, Mechila.
Yeah.
So again, the first one, the Baraita was Bo'el Beilat Mitzvah. Now you know why he's Bo'el Beilat Mitzvah. Uforesh, so he's Machlisa, Bo'el Beilat Mitzvah, Uforesh. You might think, how can I be Bo'el Beilat Mitzvah? Misha Metot Mutal Lefanav. It's Aib, I can't do it. No, Bo'el Beilat Mitzvah, that's part of the Nisuim. It's Beilat Mitzvah. It's Mitzvah. Okay, and then Poresh. Normally, you would be Poresh, because here you have to bury that's the key. You have to bury the dead, so Poresh. Now, then you come back. Okay, 7 days of Mishteh. It already started from the moment the 7 days of Mishteh started. And when those 7 days finish, just like when Pesach finished, the person died on Pesach. When are you noheg Shivat Yemei Avilut? After Pesach. Here, when are you noheg Shivat Yemei Avilut? After the Shivat Yemei Mishteh. בכל אותם הימים הוא יושב בין האנשים והיא ישנה בין הנשים. Alright, so what does it mean? בכל אותם הימים הוא יושן בין האנשים והיא ישנה בין הנשים. So let me explain that law. Normally, when a person marries a woman and is bo'el ota, and she was betula, so she has dam betulim. So after the first dam betulim, he has to be poresh because she's nida. 7 days. Okay, so 7 days. You count 7 days. He doesn't have to go to a separate bedroom. They just got married. They sleep in the same bedroom. They don't have to go to a separate bedroom. Okay, but she's nida, and they follow the laws of nida, but they sleep in the same room. Here, he sleeps with his buddies, same room. She sleeps with her girlfriends. Why? So what's the reason? Why do we say Hu Yashem ben ha'anashim ve'yeshem anashim? Leman kamina. I don't understand. Normally, they sleep in the same room together. What does the fact that they just buried somebody, make it that he would be Oshem ben ha'anashim ve'yeshem ben ha'anashim. Ma ichpat li? You understand my question? Why would the fact that they just buried the manoah, his father or her mother, mean hu Yoshem ben ha'anashim ve'yeshem ben ha'anashim? Madua? So we're going to see later on, we're going to discuss this. Here we see that according to this baraita at least, there is some avilut. Hu Yoshem ben ha'anashim ve'hi Yeshem ben ha'anashim. Right? There's something. And why is that? The reason that is because it's not like, I don't know, it's somebody's phone. It's not my phone. Oh, it's very interesting. Ah, that's funny. All right. So let me explain the law. It's not exactly like Chol HaMoed. In Chol HaMoed, there's no avlut. Zero. Right? Here, there's something apparently. Hu Yoshem ben ha'anashim ve'yishem ben ha'anashim. Okay, and finally, the fifth law. We said there was 5 laws in this baraita. Ve'en moni'im tachshidim min ha'kala kol 30 yom. For the first 30 days, the kala can put on her makeup, even though she's avela, even though her mother died. We want her to be beautiful for our husband. We want her to be beautiful for our husband, and therefore kol 30 yom. She can put on makeup and everything. Okay? Now, that was the end of the baraita, and there was 5 parts. Now, on that, my father speculated. He didn't have a re'ayah. He told me, I don't have a re'ayah. He told me, I don't have a re'ayah, but apparently this next sentence was a latter edition of the Sevoraim. V'davka aviv shel hatan u'imah shel kalla deleka inish tetarach lehu. This sentence means as follows. When the baraita said, הרי שהייתה פתו אפויה, ותבחור תבוח, ואינו מזוג ומת אביו של חתן או אמה של כלה. The father of the hatan died, or the mother of the kalla died. Is it dafka the father of the hatan? What about if it was the mother of the hatan and the father of the kalla? Do we do this? Do we postpone the wedding? Come in the Sevoraim and they say, no, you don't postpone the wedding. The only time you postpone the wedding is dafka aviv shel hatan and dafka imah shel kalla. Any other karov? No. Right? Why? Why bedafka? Because the leka inish tetarach lehu. According to this opinion, leka inish tetarach lehu. There's nobody else who can do the wedding for them. Meaning, the father of the hatan was in charge of doing the sa'udah. The mother of the kalla was in charge of. Not clear. I don't know. Apparently, so maybe I speculate. This is my speculation. Complete speculation. Without any proof, I'm just trying to understand what it means that leka inish tetarach lehu. So if the mother of the kalla dies, there's nobody to be toreach, but I thought the father of the hatan is the one who does the sa'udah. So if the father of the hatan is the one who's doing the sa'udah, what is the mother of the kalla doing? The leka inish tetarach lehu. We need somebody to be toreach for them. So one explanation they say is that the mother of the kalla helps put the makeup on the kalla. It could be, but it's a little unusual. The emphasis in the baraita was harei shayta pito afuya. It doesn't talk about the kalla having the makeup on, not having the makeup on, but that's one of the explanations they give.
It'll be maybe just like generally, like let's say generally the dad of the kalla paid for food.
The dad of the hatan. We said net aviv shel hatan because back then the father of the hatan was in charge of the seudah. It's not like today. Today everything is hafuch al hafuch. Today everything, we had a big a guy called I think Albert Safra from the Safra family. He just gave $26 million to the Mir Yeshiva. The Mir Yeshiva, it's like there's Ashkenazi Talmidei Chachamim, real genuine Talmidei Chachamim, the Ashkenazim, and then you have those who hate Israel, who hate the Hayalim, who those people who represent the worst values. That we have in our, that $26 million. Like, there's no Sephardi Talmidei Chachamim that he can give it to. No, he has to take the crazy Haredim that are anti-army, anti-this, anti-that. Elohim Yishmor, what crazies. Right? I mean, there's a sickness among Sephardim that we support the craziest Ashkenazim. We don't support the Talmidei Chachamim of the Ashkenazim. No, we take the craziest, most fanatic elements, and those are the ones we support. And I saw a few cases this year of giving tens of millions of dollars to crazy, to people that would hate the person who gave them money, but for the fact that he gave them the money. The Ashkenazim also have a sickness. Again, not all Ashkenazim. Same, not all Sephardim are crazy. Not all Ashkenazim are crazy, but the sickness of the Ashkenazim is that they love Hamas. So those are the two things. So we love the crazy Ashkenazim. The crazy Sephardim love the crazy Ashkenazim. The crazy Ashkenazim love the Hamas who want to kill us all. Those are the choices. You coming back?
Yeah.
Okay. So the question we were asking is Davka Aviv Shel Hatan. So the Aviv Shel Hatan is one who does the wedding. What does Imma Shel Kala do? So again, I was telling you that the Rishonim say that Imma Shel Kala, that she does the Tachshitim. It could be. I just don't. I don't see it in the sugya. But it could be. Maybe that's what I was referring to. I think, and this is my speculation, complete speculation, that maybe the mother of the kala will do the hilwiyah, the sweets for maybe the father did the main meal, and then the mother would do like the ma'amul and the special sweets. And then, I don't know, that's completely unsubstantiated. Just my mind was trying to figure out what's happening, and it was just a theory. But here's the important thing. Give me the Hilchot Abelut. Okay? I want to read to you the way Harambam brings this law. Very important to see it. And that's where you're going to see it's Vedavka. In Aramaic. It's not part of the original Baraita. This Vedavka is not part of the original Baraita. So the discussion is an important discussion. It's a very, what did it mean? Vedavka, it's difficult to explain. I'm going to read to you Harambam. Where was it again? Perek Yod Aleph, right?
If it was like the dad of the Kala, would they just start that both now?
I'm sorry?
If it was the dad of the Kala and the mom of the Hatan.
So that's what it's saying. According to the Vedavka, if the dad of the mom of the Hatan died, do the wedding.
Do the wedding?
I'm sorry, my mistake. Do the Avlut. Or if the father of Kala died, do the Avlut. Cancel the wedding. Or postpone the wedding, don't cancel it. Right? Look at Perek Ilchot Evel. Perek Yod Aleph. Halacha Het. Okay? Echin kol sorchei haseuda. Now listen to how Harambam brings the law. He says kol sorchei haseuda. You see that? Right? You understand the idea? How did I explain it before? I said I said the ve there means and, not or. And that's exactly what Harambam says. Again. הכין כל סורכי הסעודה ואפה פיתו וטבע תקפו, right? כדי שיכנסו לשמחה. הוא מת, לא מת. Oh! What does Harambam say? הוא מת, לא מת. What does הוא מת, לא מת mean? Anyone. הוא מת, לא מת. Not like Bedav. What?
Anyone for the Hatan only.
Yes. Yes. הוא מת לא מת. קודם שיכנסו לשמחה. So the Vedavka, no. Right? To me this makes the most sense. When it says Aviv Shel Hatan, any met, anybody. Shouldn't be just Aviv Shel Hatan. Why should it matter? Nobody else can do the Sa'udah? I don't know. So that's what they're saying. The theory of the Baraita is nobody else can do the Sa'udah. Exactly. But Harambam rejects that theory. Right? Okay, we're going to continue looking at this later. All right, but that was just so you see the Vedavka, at least that is from the Seboraim, or in addition probably the Seboraim, and that's why Harambam ignores it. Harambam ignores the vedavka. Okay? So again, vedavka aviv shel חתן או אמها של כלה דלק האיני שטרח להו אבל יבחה לה. If it's the other way around, if it's the father of the kala or the mother of the hatan, you don't could go forward with the wedding, but rather you postpone the wedding and you do avlut. Okay, so now we have the next part of the sugya. The next
question.
Yes, sir.
But this explanation of the Rambam that he takes doesn't explain the word of the Imah Shel Kala.
By the way, correct. Meaning, Harambam is not making Pesach 100% like this Baraita. I agree with you. And by the way, I told you that I have difficulty understanding why do I carry Imah Shel Kala? Meaning, according to this story, according to the story that we have before us, Aviv Shel Hatan, Imah Shel Kala, let's take this Beraita as it is. So you're suggesting that somehow Imah Shel Kala is responsible for the Seudah. But how? So I suggested Hilwiyat, the sweets, the dessert. Complete speculation. Harambam, he understands the law very simply, very clearly. The Hatan is a met, and now he is the one who made the Saudah because the Chachamim say Shakedu, and it's his obligation to make the Saudah, not the Kala, not the Kala's mother. And now he has an Avelut. We're going to tell the guy, you have to be Mevatel the whole wedding? Okay, but let's continue. We're going to see, because before we understand Harambam fully, and it's a very good question, a very good point you made, but before we understand Harambam fully, let's go forward in the sugya and see if we can put some more pieces together. All right? What time is it now? Let's take a 2-minute break, or you guys want to continue? Continue. Yeah. You want to continue? I will continue. All right, so now we have the next part of the sugya, which is going to explain the baraita that we just read. All right? Amar Afram. By the way, and here there was no 5. The number 5 didn't occur here. What did you have in this part of the sugya? You had the names of 5 hachamim. I don't know. I'm saying it. I'm just letting you know. Every single part of this sugya had the number 5. 5 laws, 5 parts, right? Here, you don't have the number 5. It doesn't work. We have the names of 5 hachamim. So, okay. Let's continue. I can read. Amar Rav Ram bar Papa, Amar Rav Chisda. Now this is a key point in the sugya. I need to explain it. I'm sure that I'm probably skipping so many things. I didn't even look at my notes yet. This whole class I was just talking. Yeah. All right. Give me a moment, please. Okay, this is an important point. I want to make it. The sugya starts in surah. Remember the petihah of the sugya was Amar Rav Shemuel bar Nachman, was it? Was that the name? Amar Rav Shemuel bar Yitzchak, Amar Rav. Again, Amar Rav Shemuel bar Yitzchak, Amar Rav, right? Lo shanu, ela mitikanat Ezra ve'ilach. Rav Shemuel bar Yitzchak was a Talmid of Rav Huna, also a Talmid of Rav, although he was a very young Talmid of Rav. He was primarily Talmid of Rav Huna in Yeshivat Surah. But then the rest of the Baraita seems to be in Yeshivat from Bedita. The names of the Chachamim are primarily from Bedita. The key is Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda was a Talmid of Rav who went to Bedita. And that's why we have Amar Rav Ram bar Papa, who was from Bedita, Amar Rav Chisda. So Belina, in the next class, I'm going to explain a little more about that connection. But this is the bridge between Yeshivat Surah and Yeshivat from Bedita. Apparently it was Rav Chisda who bridged those two places and allowed for the formulation of the sugya as it was formulated, or at least at its primitive stage, because some of the Chachamim mentioned, like Rava, was a little later than Rav Chisda. But you see that Rav Chisda was certainly an important key to understanding the historical development of this sugya. All right? And again, next class, Beli Neder, I will try to elaborate on that. But let's read it. Amar Rav Ram Bar Papa, Amar Rav Chabad Aiki.
אמר רב פאפא, אמר רב חיסדא, לא שנו אלא שנתן מים על גבי בשר.
Okay, so now he's making a note about the baraita that we just read. The baraita said, "Utvachot tavuah," you slaughter the animal. At what point in time does slaughtering the animal constitute a reason to postpone the avlut? At what where are we? So he adds an extra element. Lo shanu, the baraita was not referring to a situation other than shenatan mayim al gabei basar. You already put the meat inside the water to cook it. Aval.
לא נתן מים על גבי בשר, מסתבן.
Mistabban, exactly. But if you didn't start that, you can sell the meat. So sell it. What's the issue? Once you start cooking the meat, you go to the butcher. I know I started cooking this meat. I changed my mind. I don't want it. Right? What's the word? What do the Ashkenazim say? It's not shaykh. It's not shaykh, right? That's it. So he's saying if you put water on the meat, so here we see that the emphasis, the point of Rav Chisda, is that the emphasis is on the financial loss. You see that the reason they agreed to postpone the wedding, to postpone the averut for the wedding rather, it's because of the financial loss. That's why Rambam says that hechin kol solchei seudah, right? So he says shelo shanu ela shenatan mayim al gabei basar, aval lo natan mayim al gabei basar mizdaben. That was the first statement. Okay. Amar Rava. ובקרח,
אף על פי שנתן מים על גבי בשר, מסתבן.
So Rava, it's another law. He's not cholek on Rav Chisda. How do I know he's not cholek on Rav Chisda? Well, first of all, they weren't together. They weren't in the same generation, so you can't have a machloket. But also, Amar Rava, just an independent statement. He's saying, I know what Rav Chisda said. Rav Chisda was 2 generations before me. He said, Lo shanu ela shenatan mayim al gabei basar. So comes Rabbi and he clarifies. He says, it's true what Rav Chisda said, but not in a kerach. The kerach is like a mukefet choma, right? Yoshua ben Nun, remember the Masechet Megillah? Megillah nitnet ב-11, ב-12, ב-13, ב-14, right? ב-15 לפחות ולא יותר, right? So now, עיר המוקפת חומה was a more major, powerful city, commercial center. So there, even if you put water on the meat, mistapen, you can still sell it. So that's another law. Meaning, it comes out that if you're in a kerach, there's no excuse to postpone the averut. Let's read the next law. Law number 3.
אמר רב פאפא, ובכפר, אף על פי שלא נתן מים על גבי בשר, הוא מסתבן. לא מסתבן.
Right. And Rav Papa said, but the opposite situation. But if you're kefar means a small city, right? Then even if you didn't put אף על פי שלא נתן מים על גבי בשר, we don't need the extra addition of Rav Chisda. All you did was you slaughtered the animal. לא נתן מים על גבי בשר, you're in a small village. You have 1,000 pounds of meat. What do you do with 1,000 pounds of meat? Water, not water. It's all going to the garbage. And therefore, that's it. End of the situation. And you postpone the avlut, and you go forward with the wedding. All right? So now on that, the Gemara says, "Ve'ela." So now when the Chisda said לא שנו, אלא שנתן מים על גבי בשר. What's the situation, Shlomo? Is it in Kerach? No, because Rava said that in Kerach it's irrelevant. No, I'm sorry, Rava said even, doesn't matter that you put water on gabe basar. It's irrelevant, meaning whether you put water or didn't put water, you can sell the meat. Sell the meat and that's it. Halas. Sell it. So does putting the water change anything? No. Okay. In a kefar aiki, does putting the water change anything? No. Because when you put the water, didn't put the water, you postpone the avlut and you go forward with the wedding because you can't sell the meat. You're in a kefar. So when Rav Chisda says, what is he talking about? He wasn't talking about a kefar. He wasn't talking about a kerach. So what was he talking about? You understand the question?
Yeah.
In a kerach, it doesn't matter. You do the wedding. I'm sorry. You sell the meat and you postpone the wedding and you do the avlut. In a kefar, it doesn't matter whether you put water or didn't put water. You postpone the avlut and you do the wedding. So when does the law of Rav Chisda apply?
Miriam said it.
Yeah, exactly. Ve'ela de Rav Chisda. So read it out. Ve'ela de Rav Chisda.
ואלה דרב חיסדה
הכי משכחת לה.
משכחת לה. אמר שכיון
מטה מחסייה. כיון מטה מחסייה. Like מטה מחסייה, medium city, that's where Rav Asher lived. דמפקה מכרך ומפקה מכפר. It's not exactly a kerach, it's not exactly a kefar. You understand? So in a city like Mata Mahseya, where if you put water on the meat, that's it, you can't sell it. There's no market. If you didn't put water on the meat, you can probably still sell it. You understand?
Yeah.
All right? So again, this part didn't have 5 parts, but you have the names of 5 Chachamim here. Rafram Bar Papa, Rav Chisda, Rava, Rav Papa, Rav Asher.
Okay. Papa is the same, it's the father of Rafram?
Amar Rafram Bar Papa, I don't think so. It doesn't see. Oh, actually, maybe it works out. You know what? It could work out. I have to. No. First of all, no. Hold on, no. This Rafram Bar Papa is definitely not the son of Rav Papa. That's for sure. The question is whether it's the other way around. Whether the Rav Papa is the son of this Rafram. That's a question. That I have to check. It might be the case. Maybe Rafram Bar Papa had a child at an old age, and his name was Rav Papa, and that child, it could be. I have to check. All right. Okay, so that's the end of this part. This part was the 5th part of the sugya. No, the 4th part. We had the petiha. Chelik Aleph was my shakedu. Chelik Bet was my sakana. Chelik Gimel was my ones. Chelik Dalet was my mehamata ones. Alternative explanation, right? And then Chelik He was Tanya Kevate de Rav Chisda, which is what we're doing now. No. I skipped the Chelik. Now Chelik Dalet was my mehamata ones. And then we have here. We have the how did this start? Amar Rafram Baba. This was Chelik. This was the 5th Chelik. Okay, and now we're having a 6th Chelik. Tanya Kevate de Rav Chisda. And again, I have to put together the various halakim and have an overall map of the sugya. I still didn't do it. It's a very difficult sugya. It's a very long sugya, but certainly the number 5 is important so far. Okay, so let's read the Tanya Kevate de Rav Chisda. Okay, so just one moment, and let me yes. And this is an important point I'm going to make now. Now, this is an important point. We're going to bring now a baraita which supports the thesis of Rav Chisda. Right? Tanya Kevate de Rav Chisda. Now, this baraita will confirm what Rav Chisda said. What did Rav Chisda say again? You can look at the thing. There's nothing wrong with looking at the Gemara if you don't remember. What did Rav Chisda say? Aiki or Shlomo? What did Rav Chisda say? We just read it.
אלא שנתן מים על גבי בשר.
לא שנו, אלא שנתן מים על גבי בשר, right? So we're going to bring a baraita here. This baraita is going to go into greater detail and give us the detail that the previous baraita did not give us. It's going to confirm what Rav Chisda said explicitly. Okay, so we're going to read it. And you're going to see it. Okay, read this baraita. Tanya kevate de Rav Chisda. Shlomo, read it. Tanya kevate de Rav Chisda.
תניא כבתי דרב חיסדא, הרי שהייתה פיתו אפויה, וטבחו טבוח, ואינו מזוג, ונתן מים על גבי בשר, ומת.
הוא מת, אביו של חתן.
אביו של חתן, או אמהה של כלה.
Good.
מכניסים את המת בחדר, ואת החתן ואת חתן ואת
הכלה
לחופה, ובועל בעילת מצווה ופורש.
Okay, ופורש. Continue. What is it? So far, was there anything unusual about this baraita? No, almost identical to what we just read, no?
Yeah.
Continue.
ונוהג שבעת ימי המשתה, ואחר כך נוהג שבעת ימי אבלות, וכל אותן הימים הוא ישן בין האנשים, ואשתו ישן...
So it's really הוא יושן בין האנשים. הוא יושן.
הוא יושן בין האנשים, ואשתו ישנה בין האנשים.
Okay. Now the baraita says something that the previous baraita didn't say. Read it. וכן
מי שפרסה אשתו נדע, הוא ישן בין האנשים, והיא ישנה בין האנשים.
Okay. Another law, ואין מונעים תכשיטים.
ואין מונעים תכשיטים מן הכלה כל
30 יום. That law was in the previous baraita that we read, right? We read about the תכשיטים. But now there's another law in this baraita that was not in the previous one. בין כך ובין כך.
בין כך ובין כך. לא יבעול, לא בערב שבת ולא במוצאי שבת.
Another law that we didn't have in the previous baraita. לא יבעול, לא בערב שבת, ולא במוצאי שבת. Now, read the beginning of the baraita again because I failed to note it as you were reading it. Tanya kevate de Rav Chisda. Read it again, the beginning.
תניא כבתי דרב חיסדא, הרי שהיה פיתיו,
שהייתה
פיתיו אפויה.
פיתו, like פת לחם. So פיתו אפויה.
פיתו אפויה.
וטבחו
טבוח, ואינו מזוג, ונתן מים על גבי בשר.
What did you just read?
ונתן מים על גבי בשר.
What does ונתן מים על גבי בשר mean?
How they started cooking.
That's exactly Rav Chisda. What was the Hidush of Rav Chisda? נתן, לא שנו, אלא שנתן מים על גבי בשר. Now the first baraita didn't have ונתן מים על גבי בשר. This baraita had it. Right? So this baraita is the source for Rav Chisda, right? You see? Understand again. The first baraita just says, הרי שהייתה פיתו אפויה, וטבחו טבוח, ואינו מזוג. It doesn't say ונתן מים על גבי בשר. Comes Rav Chisda, talking about the first baraita, what does he say? לא שנו, אלא שנתן מים על גבי בשר. Very nice. Okay. Very nice. Hidush of Rav Chisda. Comes this baraita, and he says that explicitly. Okay, everything makes perfect sense. But there's one problem. Why bring the baraita after Rav Chisda? The baraita, this baraita should have been before Rav Chisda. Here, Rav Chisda is an emora. This baraita is a baraita, Tanah. You understand the problem? And we're dealing with Rav Chisda. I mean, Halakha is like Rav Chisda, but we should say Halakha is like this baraita. Understand, like this baraita is a source for the halakha. Let me explain to you. This baraita comes from Masechet Simachot. Let's see. This baraita comes from Masechet Simachot, and the point is as follows: we have different collections of baraitot, and the halakha is not always like a baraita. what makes the halacha like a baraita is because the Amorah in the sugya made Pesach like that baraita. Not every Mishnah in Masechet Semachot is the halacha. We don't make Pesach halacha like every single Mishnah there. And it tells you something about the thinking of Hachamim and the way the sugyot work. It's not that because this baraita says what it says that we make halacha like Rav Chisda. It's the other way around. It's because Rav Chisda chose to make Pesach like this baraita, that we make Pesach like this baraita. It's a great chidush. Listen, even one of the greatest collection, let's say Sifra. Sifra is Sifra Teverav. Sifra, Rabbi Shimon, the Mechita, Rabbi Ishmael. These are great collections of baraitot. Not every single baraita, the halacha is like that baraita. Rambam, he studies the sugyot in the Gemara, and he sees the way sugyot in the Gemara treat these baraitot, and based upon that, we may or may not make Pesach halacha. And that's why here you see how beautifully designed the sugya is, that it brings the Tanya Kevatet Rav Chisda after bringing Rav Chisda, because Rav Chisda is the source for the law, not the baraita. You understand the point, Shemuel? It's a very important point. Yeah? Very chashuv.
So Tanya Kevatet means he makes a law, and by the way, we already have a tradition that someone said something like that.
I mean, well, it doesn't have to be like that. It could be that Rav Chisda was aware of this baraita. And it could be that he studied this baraita. And he says, you know what? This baraita makes sense to me. Yeah, this is the halacha. For whatever reason. Whatever the reason is. But if it wasn't for Rav Chisda studying let's go to that extreme. If it wasn't for Rav Chisda deciding that the halacha is like this baraita, the halacha may not be like this baraita. The baraita by itself doesn't cause the law to be such. You understand? So it's Rav Chisda's. Go ahead.
So even if there wasn't this baraita, it could make the halacha like that.
It could be in theory. In theory, the halacha could have been like that. It could, in theory, correct. But the point, I think the important point is not that the halacha, it's not that the baraita is worthless, because you're almost taking it to that thing, has v'shalom. But rather, that in order to make Pesach like a baraita, you can't just bring me, the Sifra says this, the Sifra says this. Or the Mechita says this, or the Mechita de Rabbi Ishmael, or you have Mechita de Rabbi Shimon Yochai. Okay, you have a Sifre, Rabbi Shimon. Okay, you can't just say that. They have this craziness that anytime the Zohar says something, automatically the halacha is like that. But it's not because we don't love the Zohar and we don't respect it and we don't. I'm not criticizing or my point is not to criticize or to be in favor or against something. Some people say what they say. Okay, no problem. But it's not the point. The point is not whether you love the Zohar or don't like the Zohar. That's not the way in Pesach halacha. You don't make Pesach halacha because you found a book that says something. It's a big mistake that everybody makes. The Zohar says you can't put tefillin on Chol HaMoed, therefore you can't put tefillin on Chol HaMoed. But where do you see this? Where do you see the discussion in the Gemara? Where do you see the Gemara or the Emorah adopting the statement of the Zohar and saying, because the Zohar says this, I say this, and I'm Tanya Kevateh, and the Zohar says it, and now we know that this Chacham is so to speak validating what the Zohar says. I didn't see that, right? So it's a type of it's a fault in the methodology of the modern day Pesach halacha that people don't understand this fundamental point, right? Yeah. Okay. So I just want to bring that to your attention, and we can, you understand the point. Today, and I recently put up a video about the Yalkut Yosef. That's just like a completely, that's just like an extreme. Again, not because I like the Yalkut Yosef or dislike it, but there's a certain majnane that, the Yalkut Yosef says something, and we have to, that's it. Like haram to speak, Vayidom, Aharon, עד מכאן ועד סוף כל הדורות, even the Mashiach, Yalkut Yosef, Yalkut Yosef says this is, I mean, it's again, it's a type of, it's actually a pathology. It's a mental pathology, that we have amongst our people. So yes, open up the Yalkut Yosef, study it. They're very nice. It's excellent, beautiful sources, mekorot, and many times you make Pesach like it because it makes sense, right? So here we have the Masechet Semachot, wherever the Baraita comes from, and Rav says yes, makes sense. Huh? And then we bring it. Good. Oh, very nice. You understand? And now you read Harambam. I'm going to read Harambam again. Hilchot Evel, Perek Yud Aleph, Halacha Het. הכין כל צורכי הסעודה, ואפה ביתו, וטבח טבחו, כדי שייכנסו לשמחה. ומת לא מת, קודם שייכנסו לשמחה, אם לא נתן מים על גבי בשר. You notice? what did Rav Chisda say? לא שנו, אלא שנתן מים על גבי בשר, אבל לא נתן מים על גבי בשר, מזדבן. You see that? Alright, so Rambam makes Pesach Halacha like this Beraita, because Rav Chisda adopted the position of the Baraita. Such a fundamental point. All right? And that's why Rambam, by the way, I want to make a diuk here. Why does Rambam say Lo natan mayim al gabe basar? Why is he tofes lashon? Again, הכין כל צורכי הסעודה, ואפה פיתו, וטבח טבחו, כדי שייכנסו לשמחה. ומת לא מת, קודם שייכנסו לחופה. It says, אם לא נתן מים על גבי בשר, מוכר הבשר והפת. Right? Now if you look at the Baraita, it says, שהייתה פיתו אפויה, ותאכל תבוע, ואינו מזוג, ונתן מים על גבי בשר. It says, ונתן מים על גבי בשר, ומת אביו של חתן או אמה של כלה, then we do מכניסים את המת לחדר. הרמב"ם says no, אם לא נתן מים על גבי בשר, מוכר הבשר והפת ונוהג שבטים מהאבלות, ואחר כך נוהג שבטים ממשתה. ואם נתן מים על גבי בשר, הרי שאי אפשר למוכרו. The לשון of the Rambam doesn't follow the לשון of the Beraita. The Beraita is a bit more simple. The Beraita just says, נתן מים על גבי בשר, מכניסים את המת לחדר. הרמב"ם seems to be a little too verbose. Why is that? Because if you read the Lashon of Rav Chisda brings Shenatan Mayim versus Shelo Natan Mayim.
And even the Mizdaben.
Yes, correct. But first, I want to show you the structure. That's a good point. But hold that thought. Say it. I want you to repeat it in a minute. But you see the structure of the statement? The way Harambam structures the statement, it's a paired opposite. Lo Natan versus Natan. That's from Rav Chisda. Natan versus Lo Natan. That's from Rav Chisda. The Baraita doesn't have it. The Baraita says, הרי שהייתה פיתו אפויה ותאכל תבוע ואינו מזוג ונתן מים על גבי בשר. It doesn't say אם נתן מים על גבי בשר, then you go forward with the wedding and you postpone the aninut. But if לא נתן מים על גבי בשר, then no. It doesn't say that. You see the structure? Very important. So you see the Harambam is making Pesach like Rav Chisda. Explicitly. He's telling us, why am I making Pesach like the Beraita? Because of Rav Chisda. Yeah, it's Zachiti and Zachinu that I and we studied with my father, because he really taught us how to make the correct yun and really Pesach halacha from the Gemara. Right? And because you know how to make Pesach, you know how not to make Pesach also, right? Yeah, exactly. All right. You wanted to make a point about Chakadu. I'm sorry. You want to make a point about Mizdaben, actually, right?
Yeah, the Baraita doesn't bring the Mizdaben, and Rambam brings Mocher Avasar Ve'apat.
Okay, let's look at the Baraita. Very good. Correct. The Baraita doesn't say it. And Rav Chisda says, looking at Rav Chisda, לא שנו אלא שאתה מגבי בשר, לא אתה מגבי בשר, מזדבן. Excellent. Harambam talks about selling. Rav Chisda talks about selling. The Baraita doesn't talk about selling. Beautiful. Beautiful. Isn't that nice? All right. Excellent. All right. Beautiful. Let's continue. And again, it's nothing to do with the Baraita. We're not, chas v'shalom, God forbid, in the least bit criticizing the Tosefta. I mean, what are you even talking about? The Pesach Halacha. It's a question of Pesach Halacha. Not every Pesach Halacha. Even the Gemara says in Masechet Bava Batra, "En Pesach Halacha min HaMishnah." Not because we don't love the Mishnah, but there's a certain methodology to Pesach Halacha, right? All right. So, all right, let's go. So that was the Tanya Kevater de Rav Chisda. And now we have 5 minutes. Let's begin. Let's study a little more. I'm going to repeat the Baraita and I'm going to explain it. Okay. So, Hare Shaita Pito, again, Tanya Kevater de Rav Chisda. I'm going to read it now. Hare Shaita Pito Afuya, Utvachot Tavuach, Ve'eno Mazug, Venatan Maim al Gabbe Basar. ומת אביו של חתן או אמה של כלה מכניסין את המת לחדר את החתן ואת הכלה לחופה ובועל בעילת מצווה ופורש. Okay? And then they bury, let's say, the manuach. But since they already started the Shivat Yemei Mishteh, the Avelut does not start, right? And you continue. V'noheg Shivat Yemei HaMishteh means continue. V'achakach noheg Shivat Yemei Avelut. And then you would start the Avelut. Upon the conclusion of the Shivat Yemei HaMishteh, you would start the Shivat Yemei Avelut. V'chol אותם ימים הוא יושן בין האנשים, ואשתו ישנה בין האנשים. Why? Why should he be יושן בין האנשים? We didn't explain that yet, right? But it's an open question. Why do we say הוא יושן בין האנשים, ואשתו ישנה בין האנשים? That's not a law that makes sense, right? Okay, we'll see soon. וכן, מי שפרסה אשתו נידה, הוא יושן בין האנשים והיא ישנה בין האנשים. Now this that I tell tells us something interesting. It says, פרסה אשתו נידה. So, what does it mean, פרסה אשתו נידה? First, that's an interesting question. So, הכניס אותה לחופה, and then after he הכניס אותה לחופה, but before he was with her, she became נידה. What are you going to do? There's nothing you can do. Okay. Normally, if a woman is before the chuppah, Dina Talmud, you postpone the wedding. Okay. But here, הכניסה לחופה. הכניסה לחופה. So the Dina Talmud of postponing the wedding doesn't apply. הכניסה לחופה, that's it. She's נשואה. So, מי שפרסה אשתו נידה, after הכניסה לחופה, but obviously before he was with her, in that case, we can understand this law, הוא יושן בין האנשים והיא ישנה בין הנשים, right? In that case, you can say he shouldn't be with her in the same bedroom because they were never together, and הכניסה לחופה, and she's nida, so we'd have to have like guards, around him, his friends, guards around her friends. So bar minan, it's karet, right? Nobody wants karet. Right? So that's why מי שפרסה אשתו נידה והוא לא בעליה עדיין, הוא יושן בין האנשים והיא ישן בין הנשים. Alright, that's the בראיתה. ואין מונעים תכשיטים מן הכלה כל 30 יום. Okay? We said that already. She has to be beautiful for her husband, also for Inyan Yom Kippur. If she gets married and then they have Yom Kippur, she's allowed to wash her face, for example. Okay. בין כך ובין כך לא יבעול, לא בערב שבת ולא במוצאי שבת. In addition, the law is he should not be בועל בערב שבת, he should not be בועל במוצאי שבת. Strange, what type of law is that? לא בערב שבת. לא בערב שבת here means the night, it doesn't mean ערב שבת, it means Friday night. So you shouldn't be בועל Friday night. Okay, we know the reason is מפני שהוא עושה חבורה, we read that previously. Right, because if she's a virgin, then it's עושה חבורה, she's going to have דם בתולים, אסור לעשות חבורה בשבת, ולא במוצאי שבת. What does it mean ולא במוצאי שבת? That's the end of the baraita. So we have a few things here that we need to answer. The first, the most important question is, why did the two baraitot say, hu yoshen ben ha'anashim ve'yeshena ben ha'anashim. That's the first question, very important question. We have a few more questions to answer as well. For example, this last point, why should it be bo'el Musa'e Shabbat? Also, another question, explain to me the law of Oseh Habura. I explained that law. The Gemara didn't explain it yet, so you have to understand that law better. Okay, but certainly the question of Hu Yoshem ben Hanashim, V'Yoshem ben Hanashim, that's going to be the topic for the next class. I think we should stop here. I think it's a good place to stop.
Question: this last law, Ben Kach Lo Ibo Lo Be'erev Shabbat Lo Mitzvah Shabbat, applies to the Nida or to the
Kalla, not to the Nida. Because the Nida assumed to be Bo'el, period. What?
But in the case that Misha Pirsa Ishto Nida.
No, of course not. Because Misha is to Pirsa Ishto Nida, we don't care what day it is. Asul Liv'ol, period. Until she does Shiva Nekiim, and she's stovelet in the mikveh, and then Mutar Aliyah.
Okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying afterwards when she's Tehorah? No. So, I think it's a general, at this point, it's a general statement that nothing to do with the law of Nida, meaning she's completely Tehorah, everything's good. He marries her, they get married on Wednesday, wasn't successful. Thursday was actually Wednesday night wasn't successful. Thursday night wasn't successful. So he shouldn't be bo'el the first time Erev Shabbat, and he shouldn't be bo'el the first time Musa'e Shabbat, Leil Shabbat Friday night, and Musa'e Shabbat. Strange. What does that even mean? It doesn't make any sense. All right. So next week we're going to start with the topic of why Hu Yoshen ben ha'anashim v'yeshena ben ha'anashim. Very important, and we'll deal with some of the other issues. And we're going to make some progress in the sugya. It's a fascinating, very long sugya. Hopefully we'll finish it soon. All tov, Laila tov.
All tov.